Hello, my dear students. Today we will learn a new chapter called The Windhover, and this is a poetry and it's written by Gerard Manley Hopkins. So, first, let us look into the life of the poet. So, who was Gerard Manley Hopkins? He was born in 1844 and he passed away in 1889. He was an English poet. He is regarded as one of the greatest poets of Victorian era, and this poem was written in 1887, and this poem was published after his death in 1918. So the picture you see here is the poet. So this poem is a sonnet. We will discuss more about sonnet in the next slide. So this poem, okay, the Windhover, is the name of a bird, and the bird's name is kestrel. Okay, and kestrel belongs to a falcon family. Okay, kestrel is kind of a falcon. All right. So the name Windhover suggests a bird who hovers in the wind in search of its prey. The name refers to the bird's ability to hover in the mid-air while hunting its prey. So hover means staying in the same position, okay, or remaining in one place in the air. So this poem is a sonnet, right? And this poem is dedicated to Christ our Lord. Okay, the title of the poem is The Windhover, but this poem is addressed to Christ our Lord. So this poem is a sonnet. That means it contains 14 lines. Okay, it has 14 lines, and the first 8 lines of the poem is called octave, and the final 6 line of the poem is called sestet. All right, and the rhyme scheme used in this poem is a, b, b, a, b, b, a. Right, and the first 8 line of the poem talks about the flight of the bird. Okay, it describes the movement of the bird, or how the bird fly in the air. All right, and the final 6 line of the poem talks about the bird, but in religious context. Okay, the final 8 lines of the poem talks about narrator's love for God, or the poet has compared the final 6 lines of the poem, okay, to Jesus Christ. All right. So this poem also used another literary device. It's called alliteration. Alliteration means words that begin with the same letters or with the same sound placed closely together. Okay, so if you look at the first line of the poem, I caught this morning's minion. So here in this sentence, morning's minion is an alliteration, because the starting letter of each word is same. Again, we can see another example in the next line: daylight, dolphin, dapple, dawn, drawn. Okay, this is also an example of alliteration. So now let's discuss the first 8 line of the poem. So the poem begins with the poet watching a kestrel flying high in the air. Okay, the poet is watching a bird flying high in the air, and he calls the bird the morning minion. Minion means devoted servant. All right, but in this poem it means morning's beloved son. So the poet is calling the bird a morning's favorite son. All right, and on the next line he also calls the bird the prince of daylight. Okay, we can see in the second line, kingdom of daylight's dolphin. So dolphin means crown prince. Got it? So the poet is calling the bird the prince of daylight, and the poet also says that the bird has spots. Okay, different spots on its feather. So the poet calls the bird prince of daylight with spotted feathers. All right, so the poet says that the bird was riding the air masterfully. the bird was flying in the air, okay, in such an effortless way, okay. The bird has total control over the air or over the wind. In fact, this bird has the unique ability to hover in the air as it looks for its prey on the land. So the poet says that the bird was flying around in the air with such great skills that he compared it to a horse rider. Okay, so why did the poet compare the flight of the bird to a horse rider? It's because a horse rider has total control over his horse. Okay, the horse rider has total control over the movement of the horse. Okay, so that is why the poet has compared the bird to a horse rider, because the bird has total mastery over the wind. Okay, the bird has total control over the wind. So in simple words, the poet is admiring the bird's control over the wind, okay, just like a man would control a horse by riding on it. Now the bird, after hovering for some time, okay, after flying around for some time, it suddenly dived downwards. Okay, the bird was just hovering, just flying around in the air, and it's decided to suddenly change its direction and dive downwards. Okay, and the poet saw that sudden change of movement, and he again compared the bird, okay, to an ice skatter's heel. Okay, why? Because ice skater has total control over the ice, and the shoes that the ice skaters wear, okay, the heels, they have a special kind of plates at the bottom of the shoe, and that plates, that heel helps the uh, ice skater to have total control over the ice. So the boy is comparing the ice skater's heel, okay, to the bird, because both of these helps the master, okay, or the owner to have complete control over its own element. Okay, just like the bird has total control over the air or the wind, the ice skater has total control over the ice. So the way the bird dive, okay, or glided downwards, it shows or it reveals its authority or power over the strong wind. So now in the eighth line, the poet says that after watching the masterful movement, okay, after watching the delightful flight or effortless flight of the bird, the poet, okay, has been moved deeply. Okay, after watching the birds fly, it has moved him profoundly. He says that he was inspired by the bird's achievements, okay, by its ability to hover in the air and by its mastery of flight. So in this eighth line of the poem, the poet has compared the bird to a horse rider and to a ice skater.